Mets, the defending NL East champ. It sounds weird, Adam, but do you think that last year they arrived a year earlier than people thought?
Well, I don't know about that. The caliber of the starting pitching last year was fairly strong. Obviously, they were pretty fortunate because the offense early on in the season didn't perform, and the trade for Carlos Gomez falls through on July 29th. They end up getting Yoenis Cespedes 2 days later, and with Cespedes' infusion to the lineup, they become the first team in Major League history to be last in runs scored in the majors on July 31st to reach the World Series. So Cespedes trade and the other trade falling through certainly were fortuitous, but I don't know if it was a surprise last year.
How was Port St. Lucie this year for the team that makes it to the World Series? I mean, was it a very lighthearted bunch? I mean, there was a lot of, Cespedes. We saw all the pictures of him showing up in different vehicles, it seemed like. So what was it like down there in spring training?
Well, certainly early on, before the Grateful League game started, they had a lot of fun. You mentioned Cespedes. He showed up with a different car every day for 6 straight days in camp. Then he rode in on horseback one day, bought a prize-winning pig, and ended up having a barbecue for his teammates. So certainly was light. Once the game started, Terry Collins kind of laid down the law and said, "Hey, let's get serious." They actually didn't look very good the last couple of weeks of Grateful League play. They've lost actually, including a game against the Cubs yesterday in Las Vegas. They've lost, or at least are winless in 13 straight games. So haven't looked terribly great, but I'm sure once the lights come on in Kansas City on Sunday, you'll see that talent will assert itself and the things will be better.
Yeah, great game Sunday, Mets and Royals. What were some of the key additions, that we're going to see from this team? Because as you mentioned, once before they had Cespedes, this team really struggled to score runs. In the playoffs, Murphy was a big run producer. He's now gone. So what does this team look like offensively? What are some of the changes?
Well, you're subtracting a couple of middle infielders, Daniel Murphy and Rubin Tejada, who was traded to or released and then signed with the Cardinals. But they bring in Asdrubal Cabrera to be the shortstop and Neil Walker to be the second baseman. So certainly capable replacements there. They feel like it's an upgrade, and that pushes Wilmer Flores, a former starter, to the backup at actually all 4 infield positions. So that makes the bench stronger as well. Cespedes re-signing was a little unforeseen. Everyone thought he'd get a big mega deal, but he ended up coming back for a 3-year, $75 million deal. He could opt out after the first year. The team is actually pretty comparable to last year. Bartolo Colon re-signed. If you look in the bullpen, they subtract Tyler Clippard, but they add Antonio Bastardo. So it's fairly comparable to last year overall.
Yeah. What about Dave Wright? We know the last couple of years he's had the injury issues, and last year just played in 38 games. I mean, is he back and ready to go and expecting a full season?
Yeah, David Wright missed 4 months last summer, as you alluded to, with spinal stenosis in his lower back. That's a chronic condition. It's not going away, but he's learned how to manage it. They took it very slow with him during spring training. He didn't enter Grateful League games until the last couple of weeks, just to make sure that he didn't overdo it too much too soon. We'll see how many games he plays this year. Sandy Alderson, the general manager, said at one point the goal was 130 games. I'm not sure he's going to get there. I mean, he's 33 years old now. That condition didn't go away. He just knows how to stretch and do the right things to get ready for games. So we'll see how many games he actually gets in. But I mean, certainly at this stage of his career, he's not a player who's going to play every single day anymore.
Adam Rubin with us, ESPN New York. The Mets here now, covering the NL East the last couple of years. We've seen great rotations with the Phillies a couple of years back. The Nationals, all the hype behind that rotation. What about this Mets rotation? Do you feel that this has a chance to be better than the Phillies and or the Nationals rotations?
Well, yeah. I mean, the one that people compare it to, including the players on both that team and this team, is those 80s Braves rotations or 90s Braves rotations with Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. So we'll see if it lives up to that billing. Certainly those guys had longevity on their side, but certainly it could be an unbelievable rotation this year. You're talking about Matt Harvey starting on opening day, already an all-star in 2014, and then came back so strongly from Tommy John surgery last year. Jacob deGrom is already a Rookie of the Year and an all-star in his young career. Bartolo Colon at 43 years old, or he will be 43 in May, is going to serve as a pretty good placeholder until Zach Wheeler comes back from Tommy John surgery around July 1st. Noah Syndergaard might be the best one of the bunch, and Steven Matz, even though he's only got about 6 games in the majors under his belt, so he's already pitched in a World Series, and he's unbeaten in the regular season in his career. So, I mean, certainly this could be a very, very, very good rotation.
Adam Rubin's with us. The one young guy that's been added is Conforto, and what are they hoping to get from him? I know he's a pretty held in pretty high regards.
Yeah, I mentioned that Cespedes came over at the trade deadline a couple weeks before that. Conforto was another jolt to the lineup, as was the acquisitions last year of the rental players, Uribe and Kelly Johnson. Conforto, with a full year at the major league level, could put up pretty big numbers. I mean, these guys are going to probably hit 20-plus home runs. It'll be interesting to see how much he plays against left-handed pitching, but the outfield is going to be pretty much against Bruce right-hander pitching, Yohannes Cespedes in center field with Michael Conforto in left field and Curtis Granderson in right field. It's kind of a far cry from a couple of years ago when Sandy Alderson was at the GM meetings joking what outfield, because he didn't really have much of an outfield.
Hey, what kind of guy, is Harvey? We know that he had the medical thing the other day. I guess it wasn't really a medical thing, but he just seems, with him and the innings limitations last year, he just seems like he's a difficult guy from the outside looking in. Is that the way that it really is up close?
I mean, he's a little more challenging to deal with than some of the other players. I mean, clearly he likes the New York nightlife especially during the off season, but doesn't really care too much for the media sometimes. I think he might go down as the first opening day starter in Mets history not to talk to the media leading into that start. Maybe rightfully so to a certain extent. People kind of, the tabloids especially, really kind of made fun of the issue he had with the bladder and kind of urination jokes and stuff like that. So maybe he's got a little right to be a little perturbed, but usually in New York, you kind of develop a thick skin early on, and you just kind of roll with the punches. But he's not speaking to the media, at least right now. I'm sure we'll talk to him after his opening day start. But leading into that start, we're not going to hear from him. And he didn't have a very good spring training. His last 3 outings were all pretty rough. So we'll see where that if translates to or extends into the regular season. But he certainly had a rough conclusion to camp.
Adam, for you, leaving Port St. Lucie, heading north here after Vegas, what's the biggest question mark for this team?
I mean, there are a few things. One is the defense going to be adequate up the middle? Cespedes is going to play primarily center field. He's a Gold Glove in left field, but we'll see what he is as a center fielder. And then Darno didn't throw out any runners during the postseason last year. We'll see if he's any better. So, and then Neil Walker and Asdrubal Cabrera certainly will be better than what they had up the middle last year in terms of shortstop, second base. But there's still an open question about what their fielding is going to be like. And then the other question is the bullpen. Jurice Familia the last week hasn't been very good, but I mean he's so strong. He was in the second half last year. It's hard to believe he won't be strong as a closer, but leading into it, Addison Reed and Antonio Bastardo, who I'm sure Phillies fans are well acquainted with, if the starting pitcher doesn't hand the ball to the closer, navigating those late couple innings leading into the closer's duty might be a little bit of a challenge.
All right, the Mets, of course, the defending National League champs and the defending National League champions. We'll see if they can repeat. Adam Rubin, ESPN New York, with a look at the New York Metropolitans. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.